welcome to another episode of Car Chats. This is Alex.
And I'm Peter, and I believe this is episode 7?
It's either 7 or 8, I can't remember which one.
Okay, so episode 7 or 8. This is episode 7 or 8 of Car Chats.
That's one of them. Yeah, so we got a bunch of, we got some interesting things to talk about.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done this, actually.
Yeah, I had another surgery, so...
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Alex.
Yeah, but it's the last one, finally. Which means these episodes will be released more regularly.
Yeah.
I don't have medical stuff to deal with anymore.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just glad that you are okay.
Yep.
Or at least doing a lot better than you were before.
Oh, yeah. And it's close, we're getting close to Christmas and the end of 2013.
Yeah. I mean, is this going to be our Christmas episode? Because the topics I pulled up are kind of old and don't have fuck all to do with Christmas.
Do you want to do a Christmas episode? People don't listen to Christmas. I feel like the Christmas episodes are overrated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't really want to do one.
Okay.
Do you want to just roll with the topics we've got?
Yeah, let's just roll with what we got. Of course, we should talk recently, as you guys know, Nelson Mandela passed away. His funeral was last week.
Yeah, he died at the age of 95.
95.
Which is absolutely unbelievable,
After 30 years in prison?
Yeah, 27.
I don't know if I could live that long after 30 years in prison, personally. But
yeah,
that's just...
I think it was 27 years in prison.
27 years? That's a long time.
I mean, honestly, when you're in jail, I'm not sure if 27 and 30 years is a great difference.
No.
But, yeah.
It's just, one of the... Well, very influential person in the 20th century.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked when it happened, but then again, I shouldn't have been because he was very old and he was very sick.
Yeah, he had been sick for
a long time.
Yeah, at least.
And apparently, for the last couple of weeks of his life, he was in a lot of pain.
Yep. Which is even more sad, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, very, very inspirational figure. It's impossible to forget about his narrative of reconciliation and the ability to move on because, Alex, one thing I've noticed in my life of reading about politics and history and studying, various geopolitical struggles is that world leaders are always afraid of appearing weak in some sort of sense, so they keep on doing all these ridiculous things that have no meaning and no purpose anymore. Holding old grudges. Yeah, I'm sure there are people in some parts of the world who've had blood feuds with different families or villages for centuries. And for those cases, it just takes someone who can recognize the insanity of it and say, enough's enough. And we are going to move on together from this. And
with people like Mandela, not many men can do that.
Yeah, especially when you think about all the horrible stuff that was happening during his lifetime, during the apartheid regime of South Africa.
Yeah, a lot of terrible things happened.
Which, at its worst, when apartheid was at its worst, it made Alabama circa the 1950s look like, I don't know. It's a small world.
It looked like a day hike.
Yeah, it looked like the greatest Kumbaya festival of all time in comparison.
Having traveled to most of the South and knowing about that is when you make the South look like warm and cozy.
Yeah. You've done some bad shit when you can say that.
From what, we're in our 20s, so people who are our age are listening. If your parents or grandparents, you ask them about it. Like, South Africa had a North Korea-like status to it back in the day. It was an embargo, nobody did business with it.
Well,
except
not all
for
states.
Dick Cheney.
Not all states. The United States backed South Africa for a long time, along with Israel, too.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, for a very long time, and... Ronald Reagan vetoed congressional sanctions against South Africa.
Because they had communism sympathizers.
Yeah, bullshit about communism.
And that's the problem I have, is so many people have these old hatreds of fears of communism and stuff, and it's like, guys, we can't live in that world anymore. hating, just having this such an ideal, and I think that's what Mandela. He realized that ideology, like clinging to ideology, was never going to bring people together.
Because, I mean, could you blame him for wanting to seek revenge for what happened to him? You know, he was in prison for 27 years.
Yeah.
18 of those years were in a jail cell that was, I think, about the size of this car, maybe smaller.
Smaller, I would bet.
Yeah, smaller. So, I mean, it would be perfectly understandable.
Wow, somebody parallel parked into this.
Yeah. But, you know, he recognized that this would not end the conflict. And what's even more inspiring, in my opinion, is that he did this from a position of power, where he was the controlling force, and it was all on him, and he was able to take the high road, to take the greater path, because he knew that it would be necessary for his nation. And you know, his presidency wasn't perfect, which I think another great thing about him is that he embraced the fact that he was a human being. He wasn't perfect. But, you know, South Africa had suffered a pretty serious epidemic with AIDS, and there's a lot of wealth disparity in the nation.
Yeah.
But I still think that, like, Nelson Mandela is one of the greatest leaders for being able to peacefully bring about a revolution of that magnitude.
Yep. The world needs more people like him. Too many people just have. And what's interesting, if you see a lot of the world, like in the hatreds that people often hate each other for don't even know why anymore. When people say I don't know why, then you know you need to look at it. Yeah. So yeah. Though I have this hope with this Pope Francis guy, though.
Yeah. I think so. He
could be a man. He could do Mandela level change if he wants.
He certainly seems to be a very, very different religious and political figure, because you know everything's political at some point.
Yeah, I mean he's the first one. I don't know. It's kind of since mentioning Mandela, but there are more people. Hopefully, there'll be more people like him, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, he inspired a bunch of people during his life. Maybe his followers will carry his legacy and his message. That's my great hope.
Exactly.
There's something else I wanted. Shit, what was I gonna say? Damn it. It might come to me. Sorry. Completely forgot.
And, you know, it's surprising that I think why there are many still who don't appreciate him is that his disarming tactic is, unfortunately, what I think we need to understand is that disarming tactic of letting go of feuds, not everybody wants to think that way, and I think that is what I think Mandela shows us what to look for, and looking to try to convince people to dispute of their old hatreds.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how and he shows how to really change a society, is to get rid of old hatreds and old grudges, which is often, I think, many people don't tackle problems that way, and I think he did, and that's why I think he was so successful.
He's such a great leader and such a special individual in our world.
And it'll be and which is odd and ironic is that they're doing a Mandela movie, I think.
Yeah, starring Idris Elba, The Long Walk to Freedom, I think it's called, which I believe is about his earlier years with the African National Congress, which was his political party.
Yes. And that'll be interesting. Idris Elba doing Nelson Mandela, huh?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, talking about the movie, that I'm not really sure if I can see Idris Elba as Nelson Mandela, because I mean, I know that Nelson Mandela was a boxer, so he definitely was, you know, he had to be a tough dude if he was as good of a boxer as people say he is. But Idris Elba just, he kind of has a harsh face, and also he has a very harsh, gruff voice. You know, I just can't see him talking about forming a rainbow nation of all people. You know, I just can't see him pulling it off, but
we'll see what happens when that movie. I mean, I will definitely be going to see that movie.
I mean, Idris Elba is a fucking great actor, so I'm sure he can do it.
You know,
But right now, I just can't see it. I mean, I had the same thoughts about a Heath Ledger as the Joker, too.
Yeah, I know. Everybody did, and everyone got proven entirely wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just thought we'd mention Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, because he truly was one of the most important political and historical figures of our time, and he'll definitely go down as one of the most important in history, I'm sure.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah. And I just remembered what I was going to point out when you were talking about how we need more political leaders like Nelson Mandela.
Mm-hmm.
The Onion, after his death, released an article that said Nelson Mandela is the first politician to be missed.
You know?
And ended with, the Onion is still, experts are still waiting to see if there is anyone else. If there's another political candidate who will be missed.
That we will see, and hopefully so.
But yeah, it's just everyone, I'm sure, has got some inspiration from him for their personal struggle.
It proved me that people who are best leaders are those who don't seek to be leaders.
Yep.
Something my grandfather once told me.
I've always
said that.
Very
long time ago. It's something I've always remembered.
I've always said anyone who wants to be the president is an absolute lunatic.
Yep.
When you think of all the crap that comes with being the president of other nations, but I was talking specifically about this nation.
Oh.
Anyone who wants that is out of their goddamn mind and should not be a leader.
I don't know, Obama might have been out of his mind. I knew a guy who knew him at Occidental.
Yeah, I mean, I'd buy it
He was part of this guy Ken that I know. He knew, I don't know how he knew him. I think he knew him through a friend of a friend, but apparently he smoked back in the day, or a lot.
Oh yeah, he made no secret about it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Which is, and yeah, good luck to whoever, Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't have really any more to add. I kind of just, It's just important I thought we mention it, because people like Mandela you don't see them if that often.
Yeah, they don't.
Ever.
They are few and far in between,
Okay.
without a doubt. So
Now,
I guess moving on to more lighthearted things.
Yep. Moving on to our more normal array of topics.
Yeah.
You had something you wanted to lead off on.
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things, but where do you want to go from here?
Well, I think an interesting one you mentioned was well, we could leave off your another big bone to pick in terms of television.
I'm not feeling very negative right now.
You're not feeling negative?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
Yeah, let me get warmed up. Let me get hot and bothered.
One of Peter's beefs will be returning. There's a couple we will mention in podcasts that we've mentioned in earlier ones, too. Like your J.J. Abrams one. J.J.
Abrams. I think I've also talked about why I hate Gwyneth Paltrow so much.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe that was just, I'm sure... Well, if I didn't, I'm sure I will talk about her again.
Well, when the Star Wars movie comes up, we will have a lot of J.J. Abrams discussions, I'm sure. Because I will drag you to see the new one.
I thought you were my friend.
Hey, you know what? I got dragged to the happening. And you made me go see the Green Lantern movie. I had to see it twice.
Dude, I did not make you see.
Oh, no, wait, Scott did that.
Yeah, that was Scott. That was all on Scott.
Yeah, I know. You were smart. You did not want to go.
Yeah, so, what did you want to...
we were going to talk about the new rumors, apparently, for Fallout 4.
Yeah, one of your favorite series.
I like Fallout. I did not... Now, New Vegas, this is the true sequel to me to Fallout 3. New Vegas was made by Obsidian Studios, who just basically it was like the Sci-Fi Channel original movie of video games. They just make crappier versions of better movie titles, really.
Yeah, they pretty much make all the spin-offs and sequels that no one really wanted to make, but they had to for financial reasons.
They're like the intern of video game companies. They're just like the unpaid intern. That's how I see Obsidian, and all the big shot game studios tell them what to do.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah, because I'm excited because I did not like Fallout New Vegas. I actually really disliked that game.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I ended up getting kind of bored with Fallout 3, but
yeah,
we should, we're talking about Fallout a lot, but we haven't even mentioned the rumors that, that started popping up about Fallout 4.
I don't know the details, so why don't you explain that?
Alright, so this all got started when a teaser website that said something like Fallout 2299 or something like that, or 2099, whatever year this shit all takes place in, popped up on the internet, and people thought, wait, that's a Fallout reference. They've got it, they're announcing the next Fallout game. Well, they didn't. But it got everyone excited about Fallout 4, and I believe it was the one and only confirmed rumor in the whole rumor mill that I'm not going to get into, is that the game is going to be set in Massachusetts,
Ooh.
in what's called the Commonwealth.
Yeah, which is the remains of Boston. That could be which I'm excited when I heard that.
Which could be very interesting. The thing is, though, that no gameplay details have been revealed about it at all. I mean, actually, nothing has been revealed about it, besides that somewhat substantiated rumor.
That's in the Commonwealth. That makes me excited already, and I'm going to explain why. Because I know a lot of people who disliked Las Vegas for many reasons and liked it. The most common complaint I saw is that it did not feel like an apocalyptic game. It felt too, not like a post-apocalyptic world, which is what Fallout is, really.
That's a good point, actually, because
it's essentially like a video game in the Dark Ages, really.
I mean, honestly, that's a good point, because Fallout New Vegas kind of looked like the areas that you would see if you drove from Reno to Las Vegas.
Yeah. I'm getting a Texas number, not answering it.
Tejas number.
Tejas number. Anyway, yeah, that's exactly, it kind of just felt like, this is a giant casino, I could play cards. I'm like, wait, isn't this the... And they did a contrived story. Like, I found the whole Mr. House subplot to be completely not interesting at all.
Yeah, I just lost interest in the game. Maybe it's because I had sort of been turned off when I reflected further on the Fallout 3 experience I had.
Oh wait, you do not like Fallout 3, Peter?
I mean, I liked it. I beat it. I got to the 100-hour mark. Then I thought about it some more, and I thought, well, pretty much this game is just walking around in some gray buildings and some bombed-out buildings. They all look the same.
And looting lots of items.
And looting lots of items, and...
It's really addicting.
And it just got really, really repetitive and dull after a while, and the same thing happened to me a lot earlier, though, when I was playing Fallout New Vegas. Oh, and I was just standing out in the middle of the desert one day while playing it in the game, and I thought, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not having fun, and I'm not going to force myself to have fun, so I stopped playing.
Mm-hmm. But I think, but what I like is, also I found the factions in Vegas to be completely not interesting at all.
I really didn't understand how that mechanic was supposed to work.
Which one?
The whole faction system, where you're supposed to work with a bunch of factions or something and do something. What was that something? I
feel like the people who made New Vegas did not play the previous game. Like, it felt like it just didn't. It felt so like the environment actually seemed more generic than Fallout 3 to me. Just desert, 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 a couple bright buildings, and then just more desert. And I'm just like, sweet. Yeah, there were just too many factions in the game. There's like the Boomers, then there was the Kings, and there were just too many factions. Like,
there were those Roman guys?
The Caesar's Legion.
Or whatever they were called.
That was the problem. I thought that I thought that's what Fallout 3 did right. They only had a few factions, but you don't need too many factions.
Yeah, you really don't. I mean, look at Skyrim, where they had 4 sort of guilds or factions, I guess, and then those 2 the Stormcloak and Imperial Legion.
Yeah, I mean, there were other groups of people, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, it was smaller, but they fleshed them out a lot more.
Yeah, they just had many factions. Like, they had at least 20 factions, I think, that I can think of. And none of them were at all interesting. I just was like, oh, there's a cool faction. Oh, they're like Elvis.
Yeah. The King.
The Kings. And when I first saw that, that's when I stopped playing. I was like, this is stupid.
Damn, you stopped early then.
I just got this, and I did revisit it later, like a couple years later, we played it again and went on further, and I just lost complete interest in the game.
Yeah. So, what would you, since
Here's
there's nothing's been revealed about Fallout 4, what would you like to see in Fallout 4?
Here's what we do know about Fallout 4, though. We said it's in the Commonwealth. Now,
or at least that's what the rumor is right now.
Now, that's probably, I would think of as true, because it seems like, unless they're going to complete something entirely from scratch, it seems like the logical place to go. Because the Commonwealth is referenced many times in Fallout 3. And here's what we know about the Commonwealth, which makes it interesting. Basically, I think it has a lot of potential, and I hope they do the Commonwealth. A ruined Boston could be very interesting. Because if we remember the pre-USA, they showed the whole, finding the Constitution and Declaration. They could have, the ruins of, the old Boston Church would be kind of cool. The bell tower.
Yeah, that could be cool.
And the ruins of Boston Harbor. But also, what's interesting is the idea of the Commonwealth. Which I guess is the ruins group of, MIT, I think. They talked about that. There's a quest in Fallout 3 called the Replicated Man. Do you remember that?
Nope.
There's a quest finding an android, and this android was made in the Institute, which is, this scientific cult, group. That I guess is the ruins they say of MIT, it's implied. So that could be a very interesting group. And also one of the characters from Fallout 3 went to the Commonwealth at the end of the game. Do you remember the Madison Lee, the one Asian scientist character?
Not even
You're the only Asian character in the entire game.
Alex, I played that game 5 years ago when it first came out.
I just remember it's the Asian character that kind of has a thing for the character that's voiced by Liam Neeson. Because that's the part I do remember. So anyway, there's a character from Fallout 3 who at the end of, Fallout 3 goes to the Commonwealth. Which, if it's Fallout 4, would be how they could tie the sequels together. Because it is a sequel, technically.
That could work. That could definitely
So I figure it's going to be tied somehow into the Fallout 3 story.
Yeah.
And and if it does take place 20 years later from Fallout 3, that could be interesting, too.
So I guess the two things I want to see are more gameplay.
Oh yeah, gameplay. Well, now that I've gone to all the settings and stuff, you can go into gameplay.
I would like them to make it a good shooter as well as a good RPG.
You think they should go the Far Cry route?
Yeah, I mean, fuck it, why not? Because I mean, one of the things that bothered me about Fallout 3, and also Bethesda games in general, is that combat's not that great, and you do a lot of fighting in that game.
Yeah.
Especially
I think it's gotten, since Skyrim, I think the combat's gotten better, but it's not...
It's still not up where I think it should be.
That's one reason I think Far Cry has my favorite combat. That was the first-person shooter. Did you play Far Cry 3?
I did, and I loved it.
I did too. It was the first-person shooter game that I was actually interested in. And it proves that you can have a first-person shooting open-world game that's exciting and invigorating.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason, at least in my theory, is that the reason why they had that stupid VAT system in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas is because they wanted to cover their ass for including shitty shooting combat elements in it. Where, it's more like an RPG, but it's a dumb system.
Do you think that... I don't think they're going to get rid of VATs entirely, but how are they going to keep...
No, I mean, the VATs was also included so that it could be more like a Fallout game, but it's a waste, and this is a rant for another day, but I'm sick and tired of goddamn fans holding us back.
Yeah.
Fanboys holding us back. I'm fucking tired of that, dude.
Especially when they're holding back over something that is completely, pointless.
Yeah. I mean... just make... Why? I don't understand why you can't make it a good, competent shooter, as well as a great RPG. You can do that. People have done that.
Mm-hmm. It's one reason...
And I don't think the Fallout games should be an exception.
It's one thing about Ubisoft that I like, though. In Assassin's Creed, the combat is actually really fluid. And also one thing about Assassin's Creed 3, despite the story being very boring... The story was pretty dull, which for the Revolutionary War-based game, I was very disappointed because I like history and is that their combat's really fluid, and I think that Bethesda makes combat too static. And
Yeah, that is a
I
huge
hope
problem.
they're getting better though.
Yeah, combat in Far Cry 3 was so fluid.
It was my
Everything worked.
It might be my favorite combat system in any game.
Yeah, it felt like you weren't being held back by the mechanics of the game from doing what you wanted to do.
That's what I think. I think that here's what I think will because I always make what I want based on what I think is going to realistically happen. Yeah. I think they can keep VATS, but the one thing that New Vegas did is that they did make the ability to scope and aim down the sight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's definitely a welcome change, but it was not good enough. It did not work properly.
It got better, though. It has improved. Bethesda has improved combat. Well, the question is whether they're going to improve it enough.
I'm not sure they will. Also, I'd like to see them revisit their animation engine, or whatever you want to call it, because if you switch to third-person view and then jump with your character and see how ridiculous it looks.
Yeah, it does.
With next-gen consoles, work on it. That's all I can say.
And there has been some time, so I'm hoping that we'll see what they come out with on the Xbox One, and what they can do. Okay, so here's another idea, and that is my main complaint about combat, is that though it's gotten better, it needs to be better, I think, more now, especially with how fluid combat was in recent games at the end of the console, like Grand Theft Auto 5. A game that Grand Theft Auto 4 had really terrible combat. And I know people who hated it.
Yeah, I could not stand it.
People who liked San Andreas but hated Grand Theft Auto 4 because the combat was terrible.
Yeah,
but they redid it and made it fluid.
Yeah, they made it work in Grand Theft Auto 5, finally. And it worked beautifully.
It did. And I think that I really need them to do it. Like, to me, I don't know if it's a make or break for me, combat, but it could be.
I also like them to diversify the environments that you travel through. Because as I pointed out, wandering through a desert or just a bombed out city where everything looks the same gets old really, really fast, and the one thing that an open world game needs is a compelling and interesting open world.
And varied.
Which is why I will always rate the Elder Scrolls games over Fallout.
Well, and that's what gives me hope about that. It seems like, because Oblivion had the same problem, which was before Fallout, the last big game, that it seemed like in Skyrim that Bethesda learned to make varied environments. So I'm hoping that they can translate what they've learned from Skyrim into Fallout. And I'm assuming that they will.
I mean, they better.
And I think they have, though. I have more confidence that the environment will be better. To me, it's the combat that makes me nervous. But here's another interesting question. If they don't do it in the Commonwealth, I'm thinking that's the most likely place they're going to do it. But if they decide to do a completely new city, what city do you think would be interesting? I've heard people say they should do it in the ruins of New York City.
I would say mix it up even more and go to China. Since that was...
Yeah, why can't we have games based in Europe anymore? Like, the last game that's not based in America that I remember playing... Like, somewhere noticeable that's not America. An island doesn't count. I'm sorry.
A vague island.
Even though Far Cry 3 had probably one of the most pretty environment games until Grand Theft Auto 5 came out.
But yeah, I would say China could work, since China played a big role in Fallout in the Fallout series, and that nation was also nuked to hell, so like a post-apocalyptic Beijing or Shanghai or something could be cool. I mean, the Chinese government would be mad as hell, but
yeah, that's probably why they won't do it now.
What aren't they mad about? It's not like China's buying a whole lot of video games made by Western developers anyway.
Oh, they are more, though. It's becoming a bigger market.
That's true.
Not Japan. Japan probably still buys more, but it could be interesting though. Like, they'll probably do it in America though, because that's just what they'll probably do.
I mean, that's where the Fallout games have always been set, so I guess they would just follow that. So what city would be
interesting to do? I don't know. New York?
No, New Orleans.
Oh, that could be cool.
New Orleans. That would be interesting, especially with the whole sort of French architecture and the swampland surrounding it. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, I actually really like New Orleans. The more you mentioned it, Chicago.
What would make Chicago more interesting or interesting?
I don't know. Something like the great, I guess no, never mind. No, there's nothing too memorable. It's why I'm afraid if they don't do the Commonwealth, they're gonna do New York, which I hope they don't do New York.
Yeah.
Everything is in New York. Can we have a disaster that's not New York, please? I want to tell this to all video game makers and movie makers. Stop doing disasters in New York City. You are not allowed to do that anymore. Anytime there's a New York disaster, I instantly lose interest in whatever media.
Same with me.
It's like it's like, I have a feeling like they're in New York and they'll be like, here's a ruined Statue of Liberty. I'm like, great.
It's the Statue of Liberty. It's half of the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I know. It's like going to be the same, like, two things again, which would just disappoint me if they did that. But yeah, but I think they'll do the Commonwealth. The problem with it is, if you think of the ruins of Boston, like, what buildings would you put in there besides rubble, 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 and more rubble?
I don't know, because I really don't know a whole lot about Boston.
No, neither do. Wait, didn't somebody you know go to...
Yeah, my sister went to school in Boston, but, that's my sister. She was the one who went to school in Boston.
Never went to Boston. No,
the only thing I remember about Boston is that it's a pain in the dick to drive there.
Yes, it is a pain to drive in Boston. That is quite true.
So maybe they could include the since there are a lot of older sort of holdovers from the colonial period, some of that sort of architecture. Maybe they can include that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what factions go there too.
Yeah.
Are there any interesting, like, what do you think about the factions as a total that have been included in the Fallout world? Do you think they're all too, like, I heard a complaint that the factions kind of all start feeling the same after a while.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like,
I'd agree.
I feel like that's been a problem that a lot of people said that about New Vegas, actually, that Brotherhood of Steel, NCR, they kind of all are starting to blur together. So, I really hope they do better, because Bethesda, to me, is one of the few studios that makes good games anymore.
Yeah, they're one of the few studios, game
studios
where, not only that, but when I hear that they're making a new game,
I get excited.
I pay attention.
And here's the thing, a lot of people think that the industry is going to start really crashing, especially with these new console releases, and that's just what people are worried about that.
Yeah. Well, it's a legitimate fear, because I think
How
people in the
expensive?
in the gaming world are starting to run out of ideas.
Yeah, and we can tell that by the many Call of Duty games that they've made.
And also by the fact that these next-gen consoles are including features that no one really wants.
I wonder do you think Xbox One games are going to get more expensive? I don't know what the prices are for them yet. I haven't...
They're $60, and I don't think anyone's going to move on from that. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't... They're not going to be able to raise them any higher. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so, that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. I'm still excited.
Because I love open world games. They're always my favorite, because it's linear games bore me. The problem I've had with, is Call of Duty. Linear stuff just gets me bored.
Yeah, linearity gets old really, really fast. Especially with a game like Call of Duty, where it wears its formula on its sleeve.
Yep. And, you can play the game while you're half asleep, pretty much. Yeah, so that's my hope for Fallout. I feel like I just don't... The problem I have with the Commonwealth is I don't feel like the faction by the Institute, which I assume if they do the Commonwealth, the Institute seem like they're kind of like villains in a way.
The Institute?
Yeah, that's the main faction.
Alright, if you say so. I really don't.
Oh, you don't
Because
remember?
once again, I really don't know a whole lot about the Fallout universe.
No, I just remember them hearing that it's like a group that formed from the staff of MIT. So I don't know. I just feel like science, like evil scientists as villains, just already makes me nervous, because
that's a pretty cliche plot or trite plot.
Yeah, evil scientists. I mean, that we've done that in any movie and video game. Hell, all of Resident Evil is based on evil scientists doing stupid things.
Doing incredibly stupid things,
And
but you know
that
what?
is another, besides Ruins of New York, one thing that really makes me angry, like the way you get angry at J.J. Abrams, is evil scientists doing something stupid. The moment I see that, I'm just instantly not happy anymore.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's just...
It just makes me angry.
It's a stale plot point at this point.
It's something that's, and with the rumor of the Commonwealth, I'm actually more worried about the game than I was before, because I know that that's what they will do if they do put it there, and that just doesn't sound like.
Sound like a good time.
It means in order for something that's been generically used over and over, you have to have one really well fleshed out characters in order to make that work, and
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like we have to stress that this is all speculation, and Bethesda has announced nothing about this game, except for the fact that at some point they will release a Fallout 4.
Yeah, they will. Well, honestly, some people, I've actually heard that some people just don't want them to make another Elder Scrolls game instead. I've heard that, actually, that people just make more Elder Scrolls games, please.
They're
doing the one online, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm angry about that, actually.
As I said before, I think they should just scrap the Elder Scrolls Online and just start working on Elder Scrolls 6.
New Elder Scrolls game, please, and just don't.
And...
Oh, did I just hit a dead end? Oh,
yep, dead end.
Oh, shoot. And I don't know how I'm going to turn around in yet.
Yeah, there's driveway right there.
Oh, there's...
But yeah. But also, I am curious about Fallout 4. And once again, this is all speculation.
Yeah, once again, this is all speculation because we don't have secret knowledge. That would be cool if I did have secret knowledge, honestly.
If we had an insider...
Insider knowledge, but I don't do that. I'm not that important.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Fallout 3. I think Fallout 4.
Fallout 4.
4, sorry. What was the other thing? Okay, we were gonna go, and that's the rumors about Fallout 4. Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah. I think I've built up a bit of steam where I can talk about my bone.
Oh, now that we've
bone I
gotten
have to
Peter
pick.
sufficiently angry enough, now we can get in what grinds Peter's gears, so to speak. No pun intended.
You know what really grinds my gears, Alex?
You can't.
Okay, yeah. But, so,
No.
if you are a fan of television, and if you're one of those people who talks about the golden age of television a lot, I'm sure that at some point you've watched The Walking Dead and Homeland. And recently Homeland finished up its season finale, so it's done with its third season, and The Walking Dead is completed its mid-season finale, I think, a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And I was really into these shows at the beginning, but then some problems started to emerge.
Are these problems with shows, or do you think they connect to overall television?
No, they connect to overall
Oh.
things and the episodic nature of television, and that's the problem of a really good premise. For example, you know what the premise of these two shows is, right?
I kind of not Homeland, but I know what Walking Dead.
Okay, so just to fill you all in, The Walking Dead, it's pretty much...
I know what Walking Dead is.
Yeah. Yeah, and just for the peeps who are listening, The Walking Dead is set in a post-apocalyptic zombie universe that's supposed to be gritty and unforgiving, and it's supposed to show the dark side of humanity in a horrible, horrible situation.
Which is a great concept.
Great concept. Homeland, meanwhile, deals with an American POW who is kidnapped 8 years ago in the deserts of Iraq, I think, and then he shows up when a group raids a safe house, and they find him 8 years later. He's brought back to the United States, and he's sort of propped up as a heroic figure who didn't crack in the face of unrelenting hell and the death of his partner. But he's a bit off, and it starts to emerge that he may have been turned to the other side, and that he may be involved in a large-scale terrorist attack that will be perpetrated by this one group, and it's pretty much a race against the time to figure out And the show pretty much follows him trying to figure out, is he actually a terrorist? Is he not? Was he turned? Was he not?
This sounds like 24 to me.
It's a lot smarter than 24, at least in its first season.
Well, that's good to know,
Yeah.
because I never really liked 24 to begin with.
Yeah, it's just a question of who is this person and how do we find out? You know, interesting premise, especially when it's presented.
Mm-hmm.
But as the show went on, the question emerges of how long can you drag out this premise?
I don't know.
And that's the real problem with it. Like, Homeland, for the first season, Homeland was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the best shows on TV, in my opinion. One of the best shows I've ever seen, especially in sort of the spy, military fiction genre.
Mm-hmm.
Also for the first half of its second season. And then it went crazy. And it's because Brody was who's the man who's suspected of being this terrorist, was supposed to die in the first season, but Showtime said that they can't kill off one of their main characters.
Oh, no.
So they just had to drag out this premise forever and ever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler, they finally killed him off in the third season finale, which was actually the best episode of the third season by far.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of wipes the slate clean. I don't know where they're going to go from here on out in the show, but it definitely, having Brody die fixed a lot of problems that emerged with the show that I don't want to get into, because there were so many that developed because they just had to keep Brody alive because they wanted to keep that one premise alive.
To me, it suffers from
for
the
so
Lost
long.
problem.
Oh yeah, exactly, where they just weren't exactly sure where it was supposed to go.
And I think that, and you think that's the problem with TV overall.
Yeah, it's just the episodic nature where most TV shows don't have an end game in mind. Where if you watch a show like Breaking Bad,
it had an end game.
You know at some point it's going to end. Not even just because Vince Gilligan, the show's creator, said that they were going to have exactly 5 seasons of the show. But it's just because the way how things unfold in that series, you know that at some point this will end.
Mm-hmm.
How it will end, you don't know, but there's a point where it's just going to have to come to a close.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the main problem with television. It's because I don't think most TV shows have an ending in plan.
No, they don't.
They just have a premise. They have a pitch. They have a pilot, and they have to work from there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty much, it's not as bad as Lost, but they're pretty much making it up as they go along.
And that's I think that's why a lot of television people were like surprised about how good Breaking Bad was. Like, it was the first time people had really been the people as a majority have been excited about a television show, and as long as since probably Lost, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Unless there's something in between that I'm
I was gonna say The Wire, but
The Wire.
No one fucking watched The Wire, and that's why.
Did.
And that's why no one's made a TV show that even comes close to The Wire, because now studio executives think that we don't like quality, but that's another ramble for another day.
Yes, why The Wire got canceled. Almost Firefly.
Yeah, they lost the season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it's the same thing with The Walking Dead, where they have that great premise, but it just goes on and on and on, Even with The Walking Dead comics, they're not done with them. And they've been going on for 10 years, and while watching The Walking Dead, I had to think to myself, pretty much with the show, it's just, they go out, look for supplies, then there's a set piece where they kill a bunch of zombies, and there's some
minor character dies.
And there's some drama, a bunch of extras are killed, or some character dies and they make a big fucking deal about it. And it's gotten to the point where, honestly, if this is all that this show is going to be, I don't see how anyone can maintain any interest in it.
Yeah, like, how do you end a show like that? That's the problem I had when they were making Walking Dead. It's like, when the goal is survive, like, there's no ending to that.
It can work for a movie because there's an end, because, a movie has to end after a certain period of time.
But for a television show, doesn't work the same at all.
Yeah, I think someone said that The Walking Dead is just a soap opera with zombies. Actually, George Romero said that.
Yeah, it
and
is.
it makes sense.
Well, George Romero would be the one to make that comment, and he's has more credibility in zombie genre than anybody in the world. So
He's the authority. He created this genre of fiction, pretty much.
He is its grandfather. So yeah, if he says it, then I totally buy it.
But yeah, that's the.
It is really like.
I feel like that's a really, really big problem with television because. I mean, for me, the evidence of The Walking Dead's problem is that, the pilot of The Walking Dead is still the best episode of that show. Or actually, you know what? There was one episode in the 3rd season that I think is actually the best. It's with that guy who you see in the pilot. He returns and he's just sort of crazed, and he's pretty much made his sole purpose to exterminate zombies. Mm-hmm. I actually think that was the best episode of The Walking Dead, but still, that's 2 episodes that are even kind of memorable in my eyes.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's a show that's been going on for almost 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of, and that happens with a lot of shows. I think that's why a lot of, like, shows, and I think we see, because of that problem, when they don't have the ending, you see a pattern in a lot of shows. Like, usually the first season's really good, the second season's okay, the 3rd season and 4th season are, like, at the peak. Then after season 4, usually a show just starts decreasing in quality by season 5.
I'd say season 5 is
where the show turns.
When pretty much for most shows, from what I've seen, the 5th season is the last season where you're gonna get some seriously good stuff. And then it just sort of starts to go downhill. It's like the 4th or 5th season, as you said it.
Yeah, in every show, like, how many, pretty much, and, and it's very hard. Another big show is they did that show Smallville where they did Superman on TV.
Yeah, which was on air for
very
long time.
Yeah, that was on, I think, for like, 10 seasons, I think.
Wow.
Which is really long. But I remember I heard about that because I was researching about Superman in television when they were doing the new movie, and I heard good things about it. I've never watched it, but that it started to go downhill at season 6, and I'm like, yeah, that happens in every movie, in every show now. Because they keep, when you don't have an ending in mind, and this is a problem with writing, I think, in general, is that when you can't have an ending in mind, the quality of the writing just goes down. Because if you don't have an ending,
because you don't know where you're going.
There's no direction.
You don't know where you're going with the story, so it just keeps on going.
When do you think Lost fell apart? Like, when they started doing that time travel stuff, I think that's where.
I think the first time a fucking polar bear appeared on an island.
Oh, yeah.
Is when I said, nope, I'm done with this.
Bye. We're done.
Yeah.
There's a polar bear. No. And then also bad endings. That's often what happens, is shows get terrible endings, and that Lost ending might be one of the stupidest endings, which I think solidifies that, well, it solidifies that J.J. Abrams is an idiot to you, so. I don't know, it's just that you need, I think, and that might be a problem with how the television and entertainment business as a whole.
Oh yeah, it is, because once you get something that's hot and popular, they
Studios
want it to keep going. Even well beyond its shelf life, they'll keep on feeding it to you.
Yeah, they will. They'll keep on feeding it until it dries up, and I think that's a problem. And I think that's just why, maybe has to do with why so few television shows people get interested in, and why people don't bother to sit down watching them anymore. We just DVR or watch it on our computer while doing other stuff. It's kind of sad. Because when we think of really great TV shows that are classics, people think of classic TV shows, they think of things from the 90s and earlier, like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but anything from the 2000s?
The Wire.
Besides The Wire.
Breaking Bad.
Only thing that I remember that people like
Game of Thrones.
No.
Dexter. Deadwood.
Oh, Dexter.
6 Feet Under.
Deadwood?
Yeah.
Well, Dexter had that really terrible ending, apparently.
Yeah. But I mean, no, there are a lot of good TV shows, but the fact they're quality TV shows is just a sign of just how... I mean, good things aren't common, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They're never common. Led Zeppelin in the 70s was considered... Now, Led Zeppelin's considered to be the best rock band of the 1970s, but they didn't do too well in the charts, and there were just a bunch of mediocre rock bands that were more popular than Led Zeppelin. You know,
Really?
there are very, very few Led Zeppelins when you think about it.
Yeah, there really are.
And that's just the nature of quality. You know, it's hard to make something that's good and interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So by that very nature,
and that's why we've gone to reality shows.
By that nature, it's going to be rare.
Reality shows. I heard of what was?
And I mean, yeah, that's why reality TV shows are popular.
I'm going to announce this new reality show because unfortunately sometimes I have to be the bearer of bad news. They're making, this might make you throw up in your brain a bit. They're making a reality show about rich kids in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, fuck you, Alex.
I
don't even know why I'm mad at you. Like somehow this is your fault.
And this is being very hyped right now. So I'm putting these warnings out as my message to viewers so people can stop watching this stuff. And it is something I crusade about is people stop watching bad reality TV. Which makes me a hypocrite because I have found some reality TV shows addicting, so I might be a little hypocritical and I'm willing to admit that.
You know, I think this whole problem with the episodic nature of television is the reason why we're seeing more reality TV shows, because they're not really interested in narratives at all. They're usually one-off. Each episode is a one-off story. So for that reason, you can just keep them going on forever. You know, you don't really have to bother writing a script or trying to tie plot points together.
They're cheap to make, so...
Yeah. And you can just drag them on without people saying, okay, this show just got stupid, I'm not going to watch it anymore. You know?
Oh, sweet, loud... Yep, loud siren just right there.
But, yeah, you get what I'm saying, though, right? Yeah.
And that's, I think, a very sad thing to me. But, you know, there's, as I've said before, Breaking Bad shows that people want good television. And, the new shows that have gotten popular, The Blacklist got renewed.
Oh, is that the James Spader show?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Of course, the problem is that it suffers from another problem TV shows suffer from, I think that besides their running out of steam, is they suffer from being too one-character centered. This is another problem I think shows have.
That's one of the best things about The Wire.
Yeah, that's one reason The Wire was good, because not all characters felt important.
Yeah. You know, one day we're just going to have to do a show about how amazing The Wire is.
Yes, we will have to do a show about how amazing The Wire is. It'll be a giant Wire product.
Yeah, because I think in this discussion we've brought it up like 4 or 5 times already.
I'm sure. I think we've referenced it way more than that.
Yeah. Wasn't just in this episode or just overall?
Well, in this episode and overall. Yeah, we will talk about how great The Wire is and how it actually did the first world-building universe before the Avengers did. The Wire. The Wire takes place in the same universe as the X-Files. Random nerdy trivia fact right there.
What the fuck, Alex?
I'm dead serious. Did you not know this?
Explain.
I read that The Wire and the X-Files take place in the same universe, and that the detectives on The Wire are looking into the drug thing in Baltimore. I think you like The Wire also because it rectifies that Baltimore is as much of a shithole as you remember.
Baltimore's a pretty miserable place.
Baltimore's pretty miserable.
But where did you read this theory that Baltimore and
they're investigating things that they are accidentally poking into drugs, and that are being experimented on by the people from the X-Files. People in the X-Files have covered stuff up that the people in The Wire are looking at. I have the article on my computer, and I will show it to you. And I'm completely serious.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't know this.
I've never heard this theory before.
Oh my god, yes.
I feel like David Simon would have said something about it if that was the case.
I will find the article. It was referenced in a Cracked.com article. great favorite website. I will find it and show it to you. But I know it. I could look it up on my phone if I pull over from driving.
This is a very, very interesting fan theory, I have to say. But I'm not sure if it's what the creators had in mind.
I think so. And this, I don't believe the same universe in separate TV shows. I mentioned another episode of The Big Theory where a whole bunch of shows are from this mind of this kid.
Yeah.
This is more compelling than that. It's like that is probably just some weird thing that some nerd came up with somewhere. But that I've actually heard is kind of supposed to be a real deal. And I'm serious about that. And I will look it up once I can knock it off this replay. But yeah, that's what I've heard about The Wire. I'm surprised.
All right.
I didn't know you didn't know that, but...
I've never heard that theory before. I seriously have never heard of that before, but
Really?
that sounds really interesting.
I will look it up once I get my phone. But yeah, speaking of television, I think that's another thing is that problems with the main characters, which The Wire didn't, and we will talk about The Wire. But can I give you the best example of a show that was really popular, but it had the one character problem, and that is the original CSI. The original CSI had that problem where William Peterson was the star of the entire show. Nobody else was important, and then he left and the show went downhill, which is somehow still going on. I don't think it's been canceled yet. It's still going.
People still watch it, I guess.
But it's not nearly as popular as it was during its heyday. I think that's the genius of...
Well, I mean, also with CSI, the premise got old pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
And there are so many spin-offs
Let's think of another show that we have wanted to get into that I think doesn't really have a main character, and because of that, it flourishes, and that is South Park.
Yes.
And this is leading into another topic we wanted to bring up, but that is a show where, I mean, they have the four kids are main characters, but none of them is more dominant. Maybe Eric Cartman, slightly.
Yeah, slightly.
I mean, when we say, not focusing on one character, it's not like they're all main characters, but they all get equal time, that the main character only receives slightly more focus than the others.
And then they have entire episodes about side characters like Butters or Randy.
And because they have episodes in their side characters, all the characters feel important. They even had a Craig episode, remember?
Yes, I actually watched that episode last night. They were doing a replay of the guinea pig episode.
That's
It
great.
was so fucking funny, dude.
Now that I've very nicely, smoothly introduced, get on into another thing we were going to bring out. South Park, which is on its 17th season now, has hit its mid-season finale, and I'm impressed by it.
Yeah, that was actually a very good transition, Alex.
And I think, and we will also keep referencing the topic we just talked about, because I think South Park does right. Now, we got to give it credit, though. We got to put an asterisk on this, that it is animated, so granted, given that, I guess maybe it's slightly different than a normal television show because it's animated. I mean, maybe that skewers it. That probably makes it not count. To some people, that makes it not count.
I don't think that really works against it, though.
I'm just saying that maybe that has something to do with it, because I don't think, you and I probably don't think so, but I'm sure there are listeners that probably would say, well, it's a animated show, it's not with real actors.
Which is better and more
I get that, which I don't...
than most TV shows out there.
Yeah, which I don't entirely agree with, because even though it's animated and you don't have actors acting, voice acting is still acting.
One light.
I thought I just heard a dog yelping for a moment.
That was just a tire squeak.
Okay, that was...
But yeah, voice acting is an art in itself.
It's an art in
That's
of itself.
incredibly difficult.
Some people think voice acting is weaker than other acting. I disagree, because I've actually learned about voice acting and what it entails, and I think it's also kind of hard.
I think it could actually be more challenging, since you don't have the luxury of using your body and facial expressions to express emotion.
Yeah, you have to express
You have to do it all with your... You have to do it... You have to do it with your voice, and you have to hope that the people who are animating the show do it right.
Yeah. So that's a completely debate, voice acting versus normal acting, and animation versus not. I mean, that's a completely different debate, and they're both arguments to each side. But I think what South Park does is that even though it's animated, they really flush out their characters. And I think it should be a lesson that other animated shows, and I think regular shows on its own, need to take from. Because the one thing that why this shows like have lasted this long after, when you get over the 10 season mark, it's because they're doing something right. And I've looked at some of these shows. I looked at The Simpsons too, which is, I think, not as good. Even though it's not as good as maybe it was at a certain point in time, they keep going because they've all learned that they give time to all of their characters. And that's how I think South Park's lasted as long as it's had. That some seasons I've liked better than others, and some are not as good as others, but that's normal. But all of their characters are flushed out, and I think that's...
I agree. You can only give the four boys so much screen time before
also,
people start losing interest. I mean, hold on. Even the guy who runs the Chinese restaurant in South Park, even he was given a backstory, and it's hilarious.
Yes,
that was a great episode.
And that's what I think South Park a lot, is that it's not afraid to change directions or do new things. And yes, it's going to be easier because it's animation. I can only tell people who will be listening to this protesting about that. So I'm going to mention that. And yes, it's easier to do with animation. Yes, I know. But all their minor characters either get screen time or have their own episodes. They don't need their own episodes to be flushed out. You don't need an own episode for a minor character. But South Park's done them good. And they've changed directions of the show. You gotta be afraid to change from the formula. And I think when they find a successful formula, TV shows are too scared to deviate from that formula.
Break from it.
And South Park has not only broken it, it's shattered into pieces and put a bullet into the formula.
I mean, here's a great example of South Park breaking formula. Kenny.
Yes, exactly.
Remember how they used to kill Kenny all the time in the earlier seasons?
And they stopped doing it.
Yeah, because it got old, and it was always a great gag whenever Kenny died, but the South Park folks, they recognized that it would get old pretty soon, and they just decided to do away with it anyway.
And there was a season Kenny was not there.
Which was a great season because Kenny still was able to appear in certain ways, which I don't want to spoil if you are unfortunate enough to have never watched South Park.
If you are one of those people not watch South Park, I'm going to say this, that once this podcast is over, stop, go to your computer, most of the episodes are online, and watch it right now.
Not just go to southparkstudios.com. They have, I kid you not, every single South Park episode that's ever been made is available.
Except probably the most recent mid-season. It takes time for them to come out.
It takes time for them to post them. But yeah, they have just about every single South Park episode on their website that you can stream free of charge.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It really is. And I think that and also another major character change is that Randy, the dad who Stan's dad, became a main character.
He became a very, very prominent character in the series. Same with Butters too.
And I think that was what I think has kept the show going, was having Randy made them more possibilities for comedic humor.
Yeah, it's just focusing on those side characters and just using them as a device for comedy too. Because Butters is one of the funniest characters on that show. I love Butters so much. Same with Randy, too. There are so many great Randy and Butters episodes out there.
In fact, Randy's now the most popular character of most people now.
Yeah, a lot of people now think that Randy's the best character on that show.
And also, I think it shows that there's always, we talk about the creative mind versus the studio. The writer and the artist versus the studio executives in entertainment. There's that clash that's always there, but we see in South Park that a show where its creative minds, Matt Parker and Trey Stone, apart from being as eccentric and crazy as they are, which I've heard, should surprise nobody that they're kind of crazy.
Yeah, wow, that's so shocking.
That is shocking as hell. But it shows to me that these people are ones who wanted to do what they do and basically forced their way to success, really. I mean, they talk about things that studio executives have reputation and don't like controversy. South Park just basically does controversial stuff every week. and realize they're going to offend or piss somebody off every week. Every episode they do offend somebody.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Something.
Well, I mean, I've had my say before on earlier shows where I said, no matter what you do, there is someone out there who hates the fact that you exist.
No, but someone I know.
So don't even bother about offending people.
It was interesting. My dad didn't meet with the South Park guys and worked semi with them, and he learned that they get harassed by groups and sued every week, especially like groups like the Parents Television Council, and so they're constantly being sued for libel and defamation basically all the time, and they just don't care. They push themselves, and I've watched a biography of the creators. It's a very interesting story. There's a documentary about them, their backstories and stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I've only read about them, but maybe I'll check out this documentary.
They basically force themselves, because they realize, and I think more creative minds see this, is that they're afraid of, they kind of almost obey the studios now, and they're kind of, the writers are like, we are the ones who, we hold the torch, not you guys. And basically, they have become so successful now that they're allowed to get away with all the stuff that no other TV show around today could even go near.
Yeah, they have an unbelievable amount of creative control. I mean, it's always something that's bothered me about this whole relationship between them, and I just feel like artists have to stress that we're the ones who create the content.
Yeah, they need to
stop. We're the ones who are busting our asses to do this. You're just here to get some money, and you'll get some money, but this is our thing.
And distribute it.
This is our thing. You're just a part of it.
You're just a silent partner.
You're just a silent partner, and we can easily hop ship to someone else who will give us even greater control.
And that's the thing about South Park, that nobody will interfere with what they're doing because they're doing it so well. And it proves to me that studios just want money. They don't care about controversy. South Park does controversy, but they're not leaving Comedy Central, because it's making Comedy Central a lot of money.
Yeah. And if Comedy Central does try to rein them in and all, they can just hop to any television studio.
Even networks that are controlling, like Fox Television, has a very huge oversight over its creative writers. At least that's what I've heard by reputation.
I'm sure that they would never dare touch South Park.
No network would touch South Park if they inherited it. Yeah. They would just be like, okay, no. Which proves, once again, that they really are not worried about things like controversy or image. They don't really care. And South Park is kind of proving that all these things that studio executives claim they need to be, claim that this has to be the way television is entirely incorrect. That if you make something that's popular enough, any studio exec, an ordinary bully you see every day, would just be like, nope, backing off. And
as I said, it's a bit overly simplistic, but the best way to be successful in any field, whether it be creative or something else, is just to be good at it. In the creative field, if you're making a TV show, if you just make the best way to find success in TV shows, just to make a good TV show. And that's it.
Now that we've ranted,
I mean, that's not the only thing that factors into success, but that's the best way to find success. Just make something that's good.
Yeah. And since we've gone off about the South Park history, we should talk about this new season, which I have actually enjoyed, probably the most South Park I've enjoyed in a while. And of course, I think the last season kind of slumped in the end, and it didn't really start off with a good beginning. But I think that South Park, this one, has taken even new controversy, I think. Has gone to new levels, I feel. In a way.
Has it?
The one about the Muslim, Judaism, and Christianity in one episode, that's never
Oh, yeah, the ginger cow.
The ginger cow, which might have been my favorite. That episode was hysterical. But that was an interesting episode, actually. Holy shit!
Holy crap.
Okay. We just saw something very strange.
I'm driving a car while on cocaine.
Okay, that guy who's driving that car was probably on drugs.
Yeah, he almost spun out.
He almost spun out his car doing a U-turn. Let's talk about that. A guy just almost spun out his car doing a U-turn. Yes, people, we do this while actually driving, so when we do this at any time of the day, and crazy stuff will happen. And oh my god, that guy stopped midway U-turn. did not see me driving. And
I was just thinking to myself, stop.
Stop. I was about to gut it. I was like,
honestly, you should.
oh my god, there's that guy. He's the only
Where's he?
Oh, he just went down this street. Oh my god, he's going to park to go to the bar. No more we hang out at. But yeah, I think that they've taken like the Zimmerman episode. That is that's a new level for South Park.
That was so funny.
Because given how controversial and angry people got over that, of course South Park needed to do an episode on it, as you know, they always do.
Still my favorite. The 3-part Game of Thrones parody about Black Friday was hilarious.
That actually might be my favorite episodes in a while for South. You going? No, I'm just gonna go. Yeah, that was definitely some of the best material I think they've done in quite some time.
Yeah. Still, my favorite episode of that season though is when Ike, Kyle's baby brother, is going through puberty.
That's really great too. Canadian puberty.
Because, because one thing that people forget about South Park, besides all the weird about the controversy and political messages and whatnot, is that it's a really, really weird show. Like, I can tell you that for example, the first episode of South Park was Cartman Gets an Anal Probe, where aliens come down and give Cartman an anal probe. That was the very first episode of the show. Yep. The very first episode of South Park that I saw was that there was a mystery going on about a mobile book salesman who would fuck chickens for some reason. He would just screw chickens, and it was a huge scandal. And then it turned out that Officer Bob Rainey was haunted by this case because he couldn't read.
Yeah, I know.
And that was the first episode of South Park I ever saw, and it's just what I love about South Park is how weird and absurd and out there it can be with its humor. Yeah,
it's crazy. And but it's absurd in a way that's like also interesting as opposed to the Borat way. Like the Borat
which
or the
is
Bruno.
But I mean, Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen's brand of comedy was mostly shock comedy.
Like shock. That's what I think South Park. They do shock, but with substance behind the shock, which is what many comedic people need to learn. I'm looking at you, Adam Sandler.
And I mean, there's a difference between something that's shocking and something that's just plain weird.
Yes.
And South Park can do weird very, very well.
Very well. Yes, they do. And to me, South Park still remains one of the few things whenever new episodes come on that I will actually sit down in front of my television to watch.
Same with me, and if I miss it on TV, I will watch it online, and then I'll probably watch it again.
Yep.
It's easily one of my favorite shows of all time, definitely in my top 5.
Yeah, and it continues.
And the crazy thing about it is that
it's not slowing down.
There has never been what you could consider a bad season of South Park. It's just varying qualities of good.
Yeah, they're varying qualities of good. And I've liked some seasons better than others, but there's never been an episode of South Park where I've been unhappy or
or unsatisfied with it.
Or unsatisfied. Which I can't say about other shows, including Family Guy, which I do have a special place for Family Guy. At least for me. Oh my god, seriously? People on bikes just... Okay, this guy...
Just get into the other line.
I'm going on this line. Seriously? Oh, people and bikes on streets annoy me. They're annoying. Okay, that's enough about that. But yeah, that's, and I think South Park really kind of goes against television trends and shows, hey, people, hey, this is the way to do things, And honestly, like, you can kind of tell with some shows like The Simpsons that it's starting to fade out a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you can only go for so long, right?
Yeah, and that's the problem, like, other cartoon shows do wrong. Like, I see that with, like, Bob's Burgers. Oh my god, I hate Bob's Burgers. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, I mean, there just really aren't really a whole lot of animated shows like South Park, and I'd actually say South Park's in a league of its own.
It is, in animation and normal television. It really, it kind of is. I call it the cartoon version of the Daily Show of the Colbert Report. That it's weird and kind of crazy, but but has relevancy
Yeah, it's always relevant, and there's always some substance behind it.
behind anything. And I think that substance is what makes it.
Even in some cases, sort of the messages behind the episodes can be a bit heavy-handed or are kind of old. You know, like with the Black Friday one, you know, just, oh, Black Friday is bad and absurd and crazy. Okay, yeah, we've heard that before. But it's still funny. It's still
they tell
good.
it in such a great way.
Yeah.
And the characters also change over time. Let's not, also figure that word. They're not just talking about pop culture. Like, there are many things that just are about pop culture that are just extremely boring. Like, the best example is, oh no. It just slipped my mind. What kind of like the Tosh, that Brickleberry show by Daniel Tosh? Have you seen it?
No, and I
It's
never
what
want
that
to
show.
see it.
Oh, don't. I saw one. No, don't watch it. You'll never find something as equally boring as that. But I think it's what a lot of shows like that do wrong, is that they do pop culture jokes, but there's no substance behind it, and that's what South Park does right. And it also besides doing pop culture, it keeps track of the characters. Characters are different. Even the 4 kids are different characters from season 1 till season 17.
Yeah, they grow.
Yep, and the topics change, and, they have killed off some characters on the show in South Park.
Yeah, well, Chef, because of the death of Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes. Yep.
Made some good music.
Good music, indeed. And, that was and Chef was a big character in the early South Park seasons. Well, kind of.
Oh, no, he was a big character. There were several episodes that were Chef-centric.
Yeah, Chef-centric. And they've added characters, too. Tweak was added, midway through season. And so was Butters, too. Also, here's another interesting about minor characters getting the episodes. The Goth Ellen.
Oh, yeah,
the Goth kids got their own episode.
Yeah, they got 3 episodes.
It was about time that happened. And they redid the Goth Kid intro scene, which I thought was hilarious when I first saw that. Like, the moment I saw that, I was like, this is going to be a great episode. And I liked it. That was, again, the goth emo thing.
Burn down, Hot Topic. Burn it down, Hot Topic. Burn it down, Hot Topic. Oh, that vampire episode was so great.
That was great, too.
But yeah, they're just one of those characters, and there are just so many funny characters. Like pretty much whenever Craig or Clyde opens their mouths, I'm going to laugh.
Yeah, Craig might be my favorite minor character in the show. Craig is hilarious. I wish they had more Craig involved, but Craig is hilarious. It's hysterical.
Yeah, especially
because Craig is kind of. I guess he's kind of like. He's like, and did you see Cabin in the Woods? Oh, guys, Cabin.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You know how the stoner kid's kind of the one grounded in reality?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like Craig is. He's like the only person who gets how everything crazy all this shit is.
Yeah. In the guinea pig episode, I love his rant about why all the kids hate the 4 main boys. It's so great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember that, but pretty much he said,
because
you guys can never see the signs, and you always drag everyone into your stupid crap, and invariably someone gets hurt, and everyone hates you because of that.
That was so great.
And he just absolutely knocks them down a peg.
Yeah, I know.
Oh god.
And it's kind of become the point where every time I see things happen in the news, I can just see I just think to myself,
you just think that's going to be a
South Park episode. I actually thought of that as when Zimmerman happened. I'm like, this is going to be a South Park episode, but I wasn't sure. But they did it even better than I imagined.
Yeah.
When a creator is doing things better than an individual can imagine it, that's when you have a sign that you have a great creative mind behind it. Like George Zimmerman, the World War Z, never would have thought of putting those two together.
But yeah, they did.
But they did. And the Black Friday, that's gonna be that's gonna be the best. I don't know what they're gonna do in the next season though.
Yeah.
That's
or
a great
for the second
mid-season.
half of the season.
The Butters Adventure Imagination Land.
Yeah.
That was.
I'm just I mean that's why I'm looking forward to the South Park game that's coming out next year.
Whoa, wait. What?
Yeah, it's a South Park RPG game, sort of set in the fantasy world that the boys created, and I highly recommend you watch.
What, the Imagination Land? Which fantasy?
No, sort of the Game of Thrones one, or the
Oh.
high fantasy one.
Uh-huh.
It looks so good and so funny. We're honestly,
I'm buying this game now.
I'm looking forward to it more than any other game that's been announced for 2014.
Wow.
Yeah,
South
really.
Park. A South Park RPG just interests me immediately.
Yeah,
so
it looks that good.
I am so down for
Yeah.
South Park video game. Is it going to be a console? Is it a PC? What do we know about it?
Consoles, I think.
Oh, I'm
Current
sold.
gen consoles too.
Oh, so it's going to be on the 360?
Yep.
Oh, I'm buying it. I'm so buying it now. I don't know. Would you get an Xbox One if the South Park game was that good?
I don't think so. I would
No.
hold off.
No. That's another thing, though. Here's an interesting. Now that we've talked about South Park game, would there be any game? You know, I have a feeling that the Xbox One is going to need what I like to call a Halo game for it.
I mean,
Because that's how the product took off. Because people bought Xboxes just to play the original Halo, if you remember.
I mean, next-gen consoles are going to have those, what are called killer apps, but right now there aren't any, so... Yeah, I'm just going to wait and see, but right now I'm not sure if there's... I honestly can't think of any game that would make me rush out and buy a console.
Yeah. But a South
really
Park
can't.
game is the first... You surprised me with...
What the fuck happened at this intersection?
This is an intersection nobody knows how to drive correctly. Unless they live in the neighborhood. Everyone drives this intersection wrong. It's hilarious. I've seen a couple near accidents happen at this intersection. Oh, sweet, dude. Your reflective clothing doesn't work. Right.
Well, look, it did back
Well,
there.
it kind of did back there. See, at least this guy is wearing reflective clothing.
He also has a righteous beard.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I just beard.
But yeah, I really can't think of any game that I would have where I would say I have to get a new console to get it.
So the South Park game, tell me more about it. Do you just create your own? Is it create your own character?
Yeah, you create your own character. You're a new kid in town. You have a name, but throughout the whole game, you're referred to as Sir Douchebag, or some insult.
Oh.
So yeah, pretty much you enter your name, and then Cartman.
Are the guys
and then
doing
they just
their
say,
own? Are they
"All right,
actually
douchebag."
voicing the characters in the game?
Yeah, it has the.
I'm Din.
I think it's actually being
Done.
developed
By them
with the creative minds of South Park.
That's never happened before. There have been other South Park games, but the creative minds around South Park have never done a video game.
Oh yeah,
for
the
it.
South Park people are heavily involved.
Do
in
we
the
know
game.
what studio is doing it? Do we have
I'm not sure. I don't remember. All I know is that the South Park people are very, very heavily involved with it.
Oh, I'm so sold now.
It also-
I am so buying this game
Yeah.
now.
Pretty much, the game looks like a South Park episode too.
Like, what are the graphics? Do they look like the South Park animation style?
It honestly looks like a South Park episode.
It does?
Yeah.
I'm in. Do you know? Have they given any hints of what the gameplay is? Are you fighting things?
It's
or?
turn-based combat and exploration.
You know, I'm not a fan of turn-based combat, but for a South Park game, I'll make an exception to my rule.
Yeah, neither was I until I saw the game in action, where it looks really, really fun. And also they add elements where, sort of, if you get the drop on an enemy out, so you can actually see enemies walking around in the field, and you only enter combat with them if you engage them or if they engage you. So you can actually get the drop on enemies and harm them, so when you actually go into combat, they start off with a big chunk of their health or something missing. So you have that huge tactical advantage for
Is
for
it a
working
single
in the-
player or is it co-op? What do we know about
I
it?
don't know.
But
But
I'm
yeah,
excited.
But back to the combat. So yeah, there's a big advantage for working around the environment and getting the drop on enemies. Also, when you're actually in the turn-based combat, your moves are timing-based. So if you want to get a critical, like a bonus or something like that, you actually have to time the attack properly for that to happen.
So it's actually turn-based games with actually using a brain.
Yeah, so it's more interactive than your typical turn-based battle system.
Alright. I'm already interested. Now I want to buy this game. You've got my interest sold already.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something I had not heard a thing about.
Yeah, seriously, it's worth checking out.
No, that's oh, if this game is successful, that's just icing on the South Park cake right there.
Yeah.
That was
With that being said, is there anything else you want to say about South Park besides how awesome it is?
No, I mean we could talk about all the awesome things in South Park like forever if we wanted to. No, just thought we updated the season. This is probably my favorite in a while, and I hope I just hope for more.
Absolutely. All right.
I think there was.
Yep. One more thing. Hold on. Let's see if this works. Here we go. Is it still recording? Holy shit! It's still recording. Thank fucking God.
It's still recording.
Yeah. Because I had to exit the app to do what I'm about to do next. So.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's still going. Yeah, it says it's still recording.
Oh,
Is
good.
it still recording? Yeah, it's still recording.
That's good.
Is it still recording? Yep.
Yeah, we're not sure if we're gonna get cut off by doing this.
I hope so.
Detail.
So, it's old news now, but I want to talk about sports.
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 That's a.
Yeah. And the reason for our excitement about that is, Alex, let me tell you,
Yeah.
for real talk right now, sports are better than anything and everything always. Real talk right there.
Yep. Real talk right there.
So I'm sure as
Sports,
everyone...
where you could be a nerd and everyone's a...
Yes.
We will get to that topic. That's a topic I've wanted to talk about for a long time.
We've got a huge rant about that.
We're gonna get to more. We're gonna talk about this. Okay, let's go into you bring it up since we'll get to that.
Okay.
Jumping the gun here a little bit.
So even if you don't follow sports at all, it's pretty much impossible not to know that the World Cup is happening next summer in Brazil. It's a big deal everywhere.
It's a big deal because soccer is important to every nation except the U.S. because we like just to be cool and
it's even becoming popular in the U.S. and also it happens every 4 years.
Yeah, it's not it's not like the Super Bowl. It's bigger than in Europe. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. It's like a religious holiday.
I mean, it's pretty much the biggest event in the world.
One of my goals is to go to a European soccer game in London. One of my goals, things I want to do, is go to a European soccer game. Because if any of you guys have been to Europe, if you've gone to European soccer games, soccer fans in Europe make like Raiders fans look like wimpy. Yeah. Pretty much. Like, you think fans in the U.S. are crazy? No, you guys have not seen anything.
Yeah.
And
I mean, how many? Here's the deal. How many people have died at an NFL game?
Well, I think it's probably happened one time, twice.
Yeah, once or twice.
How
Do you remember that soccer match in which hundreds of people were killed in Egypt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were matches where players have been killed for losing games before.
People
in Bolivia, I think it was it Argentina or Bolivia? There have been riots in stands. Like fans stab each other.
What was that guy's name? Escobar or something? He was a defender for Colombia. He accidentally scored an own goal in the '94 World Cup. He went back to Colombia and he was killed.
Yeah, they take
even though he was the team's star player.
Yeah.
For that one mistake, he was killed.
Yeah, they take soccer really seriously.
I mean, even recently, I think a ref was decapitated.
Where?
In Brazil.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, soccer fans are fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, like, there used to thing in European soccer games. It's actually, in Europe, it's gotten better, where they're not as crazy. They used to let the winning team fans out first to get to their cars. Like, they're separated by fences. In any
No, they still are.
Oh, they still are
in places, in like Italy and some
they have fences
nations.
to separate fans. Like, they need to hurt them. Like, you will never see that in an NFL game. You're not gonna see fences hurting fans of opposite teams. Like, sportsmanlike conduct is kind of a bigger deal over here than it is in the rest of the world.
Shocking, right?
Yeah, like we talk at things about violence in sports and worry about like what was that player, the whole like bullying in the Dolphins locker room?
Oh,
Incognito.
Yeah, Richard Incognito.
Yeah, that like if that was like to like that's like and that's a big deal. Not in European soccer, it's not.
No, I mean I'm sure it would be. You know, players have shit like that going on. And they get fined for it and stuff. I mean, Richie Incognito, that's another thing to talk about, but I mean, that guy was just an asshole.
Yeah, he's just
he was just being a dick to his own teammates, which, first of all, don't be a dick in life, and second of all, especially don't be a dick to your friends.
And don't be a dick to your teammates.
Yeah.
Come on. That's just, like, stupid. Anyway.
Anyways.
Back to the World Cup, I just kind of want to...
Yeah, so after that tangent, so the World Cup group draw was announced. When was it announced? About 2 weeks ago, I think, but we're bringing it up now, bringing up some old shit because we haven't done an episode in a while. And, Alex, I have all of the groups right in front of my face.
All right.
On my phone. Would you like to hear them?
Yeah, read them off. Why don't we?
So, with Group A, it's Brazil, Croatia, Mexico, and Cameroon.
Interesting.
Yeah, so not a bad draw. Most likely Brazil will get out of that one. And I don't really fancy Mexico's chances all that much because Mexico was playing like shit for a while now.
Yeah, in the qualifying.
Yes,
really
in the
were.
qualifiers, Mexico...
Yes, I actually watch soccer more than any other sport because
Yeah.
I have 2 family members who are soccer fanatics.
Yeah. Does your little brother also like soccer? Does he watch it?
He watches it. Chris and my dad is
But
obsessed with soccer.
yeah, it's your twin, your
my
father.
brother. You know how he is about sports, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my brother is a sports nerd, and I've told him that to his face, and he says he's not a nerd. We'll get to that. Anyway.
But yeah,
Brazil will probably win that
Brazil will definitely win that group, and
I'd
say...
play Croatia, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
It's either Croatia or Mexico. I'm guessing Croatia.
In that, to also advance out of that group, since two teams advance out of the group.
Oh, yeah, 2 teams.
So, Brazil, I really don't fancy Mexico's chances
it's either
that
going to
much.
be Mexico or Croatia.
I'd say probably Croatia. Cameroon has some solid players, but Samuel Eto'o, who's their best player, he's 33 or 32 or something, so he can't really pick it up.
To retiring. In soccer, you retire earlier than you do
they
in
retire.
other sports.
Well, they don't retire early, but they lose a lot of they slow down a lot earlier than most.
Because you got to remember about soccer, for guys who probably people here don't not follow soccer the way they do as sports. Soccer is a more running intensive sport than I think than even basketball. Because I was at the Galaxy Stadium and I went down to the field with my dad because my brother was doing an AYSO. He actually played a game on the field at the Galaxy field, and I went down with him. You can't see to the other side of the field when you're down there. Trust me.
And I mean, not only that, but
I stood at the goal. You can't see the other goal.
Yeah.
It's longer than you got. It's longer. Is it longer than a football field?
I think it might be a bit longer.
It's longer than a football field, I believe, and you run way more than you do in any other sport.
Yeah. Not only that, but soccer players also start a lot younger. A lot of guys, they become pros at like 17 or 18.
They come pros at even like 15, I've heard.
Yeah, I think 16 is FIFA's cutoff.
Yeah, 16 is the cutoff.
Yeah, but a lot of guys do become...
There are a lot of people who started their careers at 16.
Yeah.
I think, who started at 16? That's really... I think Ronaldo started at 16.
Yeah, at a young age.
Yeah, he started that young.
So, next group?
Next group 2.
Group B, which might actually be the toughest group, or the so-called group of death in this tournament. It's Spain and the Netherlands. Keep in mind, those are the 2 teams that made it to the finals in the 2010 World Cup.
Ooh, Netherlands and Spain in the same one?
Yeah, and then Chile and Australia. So, feel bad for Australia, because Chile is actually really good.
Yeah, Chile is really good.
Yeah,
Australia kind of got the crap end of the stick.
Yeah, Australia got shafted pretty hard. Like, with Chile, Arturo Vidal is their best player, and right now he's one of the top players in the world right now. He's been on fire.
He might be the top player in the world. Chris and my dad have gone into angry arguments about that. This is what I grew up in my family fighting out, with my dad and my brother getting angry over sports. That was me growing up. So basically it's probably going to be Argentina. Wait, who is it?
It's Spain and the Netherlands. Spain and the Netherlands.
Spain and the Netherlands. Maybe
I'm
Chile.
calling
Upsets can happen in soccer even more so than other sports.
That's true, but right now, as Spain's really good.
Spain is definitely. Netherlands probably.
No,
Chile.
Netherlands actually has been the best group best team in that group in terms of how they were doing in the qualifiers and competitive matches. So I'd say Spain and Netherlands. And that's an easy one. So moving on to Group C.
Chile could be a wild card.
Yeah, although Chile, but Australia is just not going to happen.
Yeah, sorry for you guys. Sorry, Australian people.
Yeah. So Group C, we have Colombia, Greece, the Ivory Coast, and Japan.
Japan.
Yeah, not a bad.
I don't know about Japan soccer very much.
Japan's actually pretty good.
I don't know.
They've got some good players, so I think they can actually get out of there. And probably Colombia right now has a lot of strong players. So
yeah, I knew Colombia would probably be one.
So I'd put my money on Colombia and Japan getting out of that group.
What was the Ivory Coast? What was the other team?
Greece.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it could be Japan. Japan has had for all the Asian countries in soccer, Japan has historically been the strongest.
Yeah, I think they actually won the Asian Continental Tournament, whatever it's called.
Japanese always win the Asian Continental Tournament. That's what it's called. Because Japan has the strongest soccer program, I think, out of all the other Asian countries. So it always has.
Yeah, I know South Korea also has a really
South Korea
also has a good team.
Yeah. It's between South Korea and Japan. Japan's been dominant historically, but South Korea has gotten better.
Yeah.
But
so
it'll probably be it'll be Japan.
Next group.
And Brazil. I thought Greece. I thought you said a different country, but it'll be Japan.
So moving on to Group D, we've got Uruguay, Costa Rica, England, and Italy. Interesting group.
That's the most hard. That's the most not as set in stone, I think, as the other ones.
Costa Rica's the one that's in the most trouble, though.
Yeah.
Uruguay has been really strong, and Italy has been great. England has struggled a lot, though.
Yeah, England has.
So if I were to pick that group, I'd say Uruguay and Italy would be the two that would get out of there. All right. So next up is Group E. We have Switzerland, Ecuador, France, and Honduras. I'm going with France. The only one that I can guarantee is France.
Yeah, I was gonna say France. I was gonna say, I'd have to go with. I think I'd have to go with Ecuador.
As the other one?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Because Honduras has kind of always been. I mean, that's kind of between Ecuador and Honduras. It's kind of a either or, but I'd have to probably edge out Ecuador. I think as a better team.
Yeah, I mean, I really just don't know with any of those groups because
I've watched some Ecuador, and I think Ecuador would be better.
All right. So I will stand with you then and say Ecuador, even though I don't know anything about their team.
Okay.
Yeah, France is the only team I know anything about in that group.
Yeah, France will probably go.
All right.
But that's more.
Group F.
It's in Group F.
Is also interesting. It's Argentina, Bosnia Herzegovina. Bosnia for now because I can't see the other one. Herzegovina or something. And Iran and Nigeria. So Argentina will get out of their group, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I know.
The other three are up there.
Ooh.
I'm going to predict an interesting one and say Nigeria because Nigeria did really well in their qualifiers. They won the African Cup of Nations as well.
Yeah, they have done very well.
And they've just been winning games left and right. And even when they didn't win, they were usually against stronger opposition, and they still managed to play well. So I think Nigeria can get out of their group.
Yeah, they have done. They've done the best probably in their qualifying matches.
Yeah, maybe Bosnia. I don't really fancy Iran's chances that much.
Bosnia's done pretty well too, but so it probably between Bosnia
and Nigeria.
I think Bosnia has had a better record in the qualifier, but Nigeria played a lot harder teams though. Like Nigeria played some very hard teams.
Yeah. All right, so.
Ooh, that's kind of a toss-up between the two. I'd probably put Nigeria mainly because they did play harder teams, and if a team plays harder teams,
they won their. They also won their continental tournament too, which definitely plays a big factor.
Oh yeah. Well, if they won their I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. So next, oh god. So, Alex.
What?
We Americans, we Yankees, we're in a tough group this year.
I know.
You ready?
I've heard, but Chris has told me this and was very angry. My brother's mentioned this angrily.
Well, I'll tell you and all of our viewers again,
I could always tell because when my brother was first reading this, I heard a bunch of obscenities coming from the computer.
So Group G is Germany, Portugal, Ghana, and the United States.
Germany
Ouch.
and Portugal.
Yeah, and even Ghana, because Ghana has knocked the United States out of the tournament twice.
Yes, but
in the past 2 World Cups.
Having Germany and Portugal in the same bracket.
That is harsh. Yeah, and even with Ghana. And Germany and Portugal are definitely the 2 countries that get a lot of attention, especially Germany, who I think are ranked by a lot of people to win the whole thing. Right now, I'm placing my money on Germany, even over Brazil and Argentina.
I was either going to say Germany or Brazil, but I probably will pick... I think it'll either be Germany or Brazil that's going to win the whole thing.
Yeah, but yeah...
I think I'd edge out Brazil a little bit, but...
Yeah, and right now, Cristiano Ronaldo has proven that he can win games on his own.
Yeah, he can.
And Ghana just seems to have the United States number.
Yeah,
for some reason. And even then, even Ghana, I think they made it to the final 8 of last year's tournament.
Yes, they did.
So, yeah, that is...
And they ended like 7th.
Yeah, so that is a tough group.
That was a tough group for the U.S. to get through.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so out of that group, though, I'd say Germany and Portugal have a chance. I'd say Germany definitely, and maybe Ghana has a small chance of edging out Portugal if the Portuguese fuck up.
Yeah.
But right now, I would say Germany and Portugal are gonna get out of there.
It'll be a 3-way hold between Ghana, the U.S., and Portugal.
Yeah. And then the last group.
Because Ghana has upset teams before.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm interested, because they've upset teams more than other teams that I can remember.
Yeah. I think it's because they were treated as the underdogs.
Yeah,
but
they've pulled off some of the craziest upsets before.
Yeah, but I think going into this tournament, bigger teams will start taking them more seriously, so that might work against them.
That's true.
So in Group H, which is the final group, we have Belgium, Algeria, Russia, and
Nigeria
Korea
can
Republic.
pull off some upsets too.
Yeah.
Because even though they've lost, they've played a lot harder teams, and you would expect Nigeria. So, in terms of if expecting upsets, because there always are, I think Nigeria could pull off some upsets.
Yeah. But, so Group H, the final group, is Belgium, Algeria, Russia, and the Korean Republic, a.k.a. South Korea.
Well, let's see. What was the first one?
Belgium,
Algeria,
Russia, and Korea.
Korea. Now we mentioned Korea having been getting a better team. Not Japan good, but they've been in terms of Asian soccer. I'm not sure. That's
Russia. I'd say the only guarantee is Belgium because the Belgian national team is freaking.
Yeah, they are.
Honestly, by 2018, I would say that they could be favorites to win the entire thing in the next World Cup.
Belgium, I already knew Belgium was definitely going to be up there.
Because I'm just ratting off. I'm going to just rat off the names on the Belgian national team. You have Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, Vincent Kompany, John Vertonghen, Thomas Vermaelen, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these names.
No, that's good enough. I know who you're talking about.
Axel Witsel.
Yeah, they have a great team.
Musa Dembele.
They're all young too.
Yeah, that's the thing. The
oldest guy is like 26.
Is like yeah. So that's
for a team to have their oldest player be 26 is very rare.
Yeah, or something like that.
That doesn't happen very often.
There's
always usually 1 or 2 players that are like 28 or up.
Yeah, which is why I think they'll get out of the group stage because they're super, super talented, but I don't think they'll win the tournament this year with all the talent because they're just inexperienced.
Yeah, but if we already knew Belgium would qualify. Between Russia, I think maybe South Korea.
I think so too.
Because they've actually been like the first Asian soccer team besides Japan to really become interesting.
to make any waves in a major international tournament.
Japan was the only Asian country in soccer that people have taken legitimately for a long time until.
And I think even in 2002, I think Korea made it to the Final Four. Actually,
did they make it to the Final Four?
I
I
think.
thought they made it to the semifinals, but I remember it was a big deal.
Well, yeah, that is the semifinals, the Final
Final
Four.
Four. That's what I meant, semifinals. Yeah, it was a big deal. I think it was like the first time Korea had ever gotten that far.
Yeah, or any Asian nation, actually. I mean, I know they made a deep run, so, yeah.
I think, I'd take...
Yeah,
I mean, that's not a surefire, I think, the way Japan is, but I'm not going to rule it out as impossible.
But I would say, yeah, Belgium and Korea out of Group H.
Yep.
And with that is our wrap-up of the World Cup
Once again,
drop.
excited for the World Cup because...
So excited!
It's just, it's rare...
And we're 21 now, and we can hang out at bars and watch sports.
Yeah, I know.
I love watching sports and drinking.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Yep,
I'm such a bro.
You know, if Brazil was in the World Cup, there's that big Brazilian restaurant in Culver City.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We will go.
We will go to a Brazil World Cup match right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, that's happening. You're already thinking this already ahead in your mind, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on board.
And, then that'll be... Oh, wait, we get excited about this, but let's, and, it really is, the World Cup is the biggest sports nerdgasm in any sporting event in the world. Because, remember, that's just kind of a thing. I feel like this is something that kind of as a final discussion, I think, to round this all off, is sports nerddom. It's something nobody really, I think, talks about.
Yeah.
Because I remember I think it was the last podcast, I kind of mentioned it in passing. So in between that time, I've had a lot of time with not much to do.
Just think of fantasy sports, really.
Fantasy sports. I looked up articles, but nobody seems to be that you're basically fantasy football is like the D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons of what the fuck is this guy doing?
Trying to go left.
And that you can be a total sports nerd, and it's totally it's cool.
I know. It's so funny.
And if you did fantasy football, it's equivalent in other things you're considered nerd, but fantasy football, you're totally the coolest person in the entire world. I remember,
it's kind of strange how it's more accepted than other sort of forms of nerddom or fandom.
Yeah, and it's exactly my point. I remember my brother and his friend were preparing for fantasy football leagues, and people gamble on sports too. It's nerds that money's on the line compared to other things, and they were doing a whiteboard and drawing charts and diagrams like they were solving a math problem. And I remember he bought, when my brother's friend came over, there's a whiteboard, a huge whiteboard. He comes into the house carrying a whiteboard, and I'm just like, what are you doing with that? And he's like, oh, we're mapping out our fantasy football leagues. And I just facepalmed. And they spent doing this for 3 hours. I'm just like, wow. Wow. Because it's basically, and also, and you will know, and you will agree with me, sports is the only industry that has the most meaningless facts compared to anything else that matter. Yeah. They pay attention to so many facts that in any other type of medium, nobody would care about.
You don't know. I can't believe I forgot them, but I used to be able to rat off some of the most ridiculous and stupidest basketball statistics because I would remember seeing them on a site like ESPN, and they would be so stupid and so meaningless and so pointless.
Do you remember any of them?
There was one where it said Ty Lawson
I need to get another drink.
Has scored scored 187 dunks over the past 3 seasons or something like that. Which doesn't mean a goddamn thing. A dunk is 2 points.
People who are considered experts at sports are the biggest nerds, because they know all these statistics
dunks don't mean there's no fucking reason to record dunks. I'm sorry, Alex. But,
I'm gonna have to get a drink.
Yeah, so do you want to wrap this up then?
Yeah, I think we should wrap this up.
Alright, yeah.
Sports nerds. It's totally cool.
Yeah.
If you're for anything else, you get the nerd.
Yeah.
And that's
that, yeah. So, do you want to get some food?
Yeah, we should get some food. I'm just gonna grab a drink. Alright.
Or you can just grab a drink from wherever we're going.
Oh, well, I need to take these right now.
Oh, okay, right.
I can't wait.
Alright, yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
And we will come for a new podcast, and we will be coming up because I like to give more I guess, foreshadowing, we will talk about The Wire and about this show that not many people know about, and we will tell you why it's great and what it does right.
Yep. So, have a good night.
Have a good night, people.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is Boom Box.